Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard, and we are here for Beard on King, episode 25. We are going to talk about Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. I believe it came out in 2017, and I missed it. I didn't read it. I just now finished this book. Now, in taking 7 years to get to it, I have a feeling, I don't know really where I get this, that the opinions on this book aren't great, that people didn't love it. I really liked this book. I'm 4 star, liked this book. I did it on audio, and really enjoyed it. And I often don't do audio with a new read. Usually it's a reread. But yeah, I liked it. It's end of the world, post apocalyptic, or apocalyptic dystopian type scenario where all the women go to sleep. And when they fall asleep, they're wrapped in this cocoon like substance, and they wake up in another version of the same town they're in, which is, we key in on Dueling, West Virginia, but so Appalachia, which is where I live, but we can kind of see this approaching. Like we've heard the news reports that this is happening overseas. This is happening, in Asia and Europe, and now it's here. So we've got our two main characters are a husband and wife, and she is the local sheriff, and he is the local psychiatrist at the local women's prison, Dueling Correctional for Women, or whatever, and so this ailment, this epidemic, and again, this was written pre-COVID, but reading it post-COVID, you kind of felt that we heard about it, and then it started. The first cases appeared on the West Coast and started slowly making their way to where I am, or where you are, or where we are, and so very, I guess, reminiscent of that. But all the women fall asleep, and I mean, it's really, I don't want to say it's a big admonishment to men as a species, but I could definitely see where someone would think that. I can definitely see, I mean, those elements are definitely there, which again, I'm a big boy, I can handle it. I appreciated that stuff. But yeah, so all the women go to sleep, some of them immediately, some of them try to stay awake as long as they can. And like the sheriff uses the drugs in the evidence locker to try to stay sped up or whatever, to try to stay awake for as long as she can. But eventually she goes to sleep too, and they awaken this other place. It's the same place, but it's run down, and it feels like they are given the opportunity to rebuild, to establish their version of society without men to tell them what to do, or to mansplain, or to put their opinions on things and all that. So I really dug it. There is and so on both sides, but mostly on the men's side that are left behind without their wives, without their um, you know partners, or whatever, their daughters. They're kind of put in two camps. So it's very much like The Stand, or Under the Dome, where this event happens. And we're kind of divided into two camps. So the difference here is that there's not this Randall Flagg type scenario. Like, what would you do as a man if your wife and daughter fell asleep and didn't wake up? You would do whatever you could to get them back. And the interpretation of what that means was different. I mean, there is a central character here, Evie Black. You can't even really call her a villain, and that's kind of what I'm getting to. You can't really even call either side in this necessarily wrong or villainous. They're trying to do the right thing. They're interpreting the situation different, and again, you get some of that on the women's side too, and I'll kind of get into that. But so you're so there's this character, Evie Black, and she shows up kind of like out of nowhere, causes this big ruckus at this local meth cookers place, kills a couple of abusive dudes, and is then taken into custody and being held at the prison. And she is like the catalyst, calls herself the emissary, but she not the cause, not the one that caused all the women to go to sleep, but definitely a character for that path. Anyway, but she, and everybody knows this. Everybody knows that she sleeps and wakes. She's the only one. She's the only one that sleeps and doesn't cocoon, sleeps and wakes. And the people inside the prison are trying to protect her, and the people outside the prison are trying to get to her, because again, different interpretation. Protect her because she's the only one that can save the women. Get to her to get her to some medical facility, or get to her to maybe even kill her to again try to get the women back. So different sides, pitted against each other. There's a huge, very, very, I guess, fun to read, exciting standoff at the prison, siege, if you will, a bit reminiscent of the Walking Dead prison siege scene. But again, yeah, I really dug it. So on the women's side, there's some magical shit going on, and I don't know that I've fully got the representation of, like, for example, there's this white tiger, there's some scenes with a fox, and I don't know that I definitely all the way got that stuff, but there's this tree that is this magical tree. It's basically the entrance to back to the world of men, or back to their, I guess, real world. And there's the option of destroying this tree, and if you just to prevent them from ever being able to go back. And so again, on the female side, they're kind of pitted against each other too, as to the right thing to do. And there's a lot of cool bits in here about, ultimately it comes down to the children, the daughters, the sons. There's some cool bits in here about sons, and the fact that they grow up into men, and things like that. And I dug that stuff. There's also a lot of cool bits in here, period, about men, and about how the women in prison, they were all, I'm sorry about the dogs barking, but they were all ultimately there because of an abusive man, or because of something a man did, or because of this, or all the again, we are the source of the problems. And again, I can dig it. I mean historically we fucking are. But anyway, this is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. I really dug it. As far as a Stephen King book that, again, I don't know where I got the idea, but I did not think I was going to like it. I did not think that it was going to be a 4-star read for me, but it was. And again, part of that is the magic that is King, the way he can pull me in. And I'll give you an example. I didn't really like the book Fairy Tale, but this one I liked a lot more than I thought I would. And it also, at the end of it, it kind of talks about how Stephen and Owen wrote it together, and how they would write pieces but leave donut holes in the middle for the other person to then come and fill in. And then when they went to rewrite, they rewrote each other's parts. And so again, it definitely, I was never reading it and thought, this doesn't sound like Stephen King. The whole thing sounds like a Stephen King book. So I dug it. 4 stars for me. Sleeping Beauty, Stephen King, Owen King. This is well-read beard. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.